In the 1990s, Nike wasn't the only company making products through overseas factories. So why did one logo become the face of child labor around the world? Nike wasn't just selling shoes. It was selling ambition, discipline, winning. Behind one of the most famous logos in the world, though, a story was growing that Nike could not outrun. Factory floors, low wages, forced overtime, dangerous conditions. And then came the image that changed everything. A young boy in Pakistan sewing a Nike soccer ball. Suddenly, the company that told people to chase greatness was being linked to exploitation. This was not just bad publicity. It struck at the center of Nike's identity. Because when a brand sells a dream, the most damaging question is simple. Who was really paying the price for it? How did Nike become the symbol of child labor accusations? What did the company know? And how did one of the most attacked brands in the world survive this scandal? Nike's power was never only in the shoe. A shoe can be copied, a logo can be printed, a product can sit on a shelf. But Nike built something harder to copy: a feeling. The brand told people that greatness was available to anyone willing to work hard enough. A runner was not just running. A basketball player was not just playing. A customer was not just buying trainers. They were buying a version of themselves. Faster, stronger, more disciplined, closer to the person they wanted to become. That was the genius of Nike. It turned sport into identity. Every advert, every athlete, every slogan pushed the same idea. The product was proof that you believed in the dream. And that is why the scandal became so dangerous. If Nike had been a cheap, unknown shoe company, the story might have been smaller. But Nike had built its value on inspiration. So when accusations of sweatshops and child labor entered the conversation, they did more than damage a product. They damaged the meaning behind the swoosh. And once a brand loses control of its meaning, the problem becomes much bigger than sales. It becomes a fight over trust. But to understand why Nike was so exposed, you have to understand the business model that helped make it huge in the first place. Nike did not grow by building every factory itself. Its real strength was focus. Design the product, build the brand, sign the athletes, control the story. Manufacturing happens somewhere else. Across global supply chains, supplier factories produced the shoes, clothing, and equipment that carried the Nike name. From a business point of view, the model was powerful. It kept Nike flexible. It helped the company scale. It allowed the brand to grow without owning every part of production. But hidden inside that model was a weakness: distance. Distance between the customer and the conditions behind the product. For years, that distance helped the system work. Then the scandal turned that distance into evidence. Because Nike could say, "We do not own these factories." But the public saw something else. Your name is on the product. That is the tension at the heart of the story. Nike had outsourced production. But it could not outsource responsibility. And that responsibility became impossible to ignore when one photograph reached the public. For years, sweatshop accusations were easy for many people to look past. Supply chains were complicated. Factories were far away. Responsibility was spread across suppliers, contractors, and subcontractors. To the average customer, it felt distant. Then, the story became simple: a child, a soccer ball, a famous logo. In 1996, Life magazine published an image of a young boy in Pakistan sewing a Nike soccer ball. That image did something reports often struggle to do. It gave the scandal a face. Suddenly, this was no longer just a debate about wages, contracts, or international manufacturing. People could see the question clearly. How could one of the most powerful sports brands in the world be connected to this? That was the moment Nike's problem changed. Before, criticism could sound abstract. After the photograph, it became emotional. Because customers did not need to understand every layer of the supply chain. They only needed to understand the contrast. On one side, athletes, victory, inspiration, and billion-dollar marketing. On the other, a child working on a product carrying the same brand. That contrast made the scandal spread. And once the public connected Nike's logo with child labor accusations, the company was no longer only defending its factories. It was defending the meaning of the brand. But the photograph was only the beginning. The story did not stop with one boy in Pakistan. Soon, Nike was being criticized for wider sweatshop conditions across parts of its supplier network. Low pay, long hours, pressure on workers, poor conditions, and abuse inside factories. The accusation was no longer only about child labor, it was about the system behind cheap production. And Nike became the perfect target. Not because it was the only company using global manufacturing, but because it was one of the most visible. The swoosh was everywhere. That visibility had helped Nike grow. Now, it helped the scandal travel. Every protest sign looked stronger with the Nike logo on it. Every newspaper story became easier to understand because people already knew the brand. And accusations felt bigger because the company was bigger. This is the paradox of fame. A powerful brand can spread its message faster than anyone else, but when the message turns against it, the damage spreads just as fast. Nike had spent years attaching emotion to its logo. Now, critics were doing the same thing. The emotion had changed. The swoosh was no longer just a symbol of winning. For many people, it became a symbol of what was wrong with globalization, and that was a much harder problem to solve. A bad product can be redesigned, a bad advert can be replaced, but a damaged meaning is harder to repair. Nike was not just fighting allegations anymore, it was fighting a story people had started to believe. Nike's first line of defense sounded logical. The company did not own many of the factories making its products. Suppliers made them, contractors managed them. Production happened outside Nike's direct walls. From a legal point of view, that distinction mattered. From a public point of view, it sounded like an excuse. Because customers were not buying from a contractor, they were buying from Nike. Nobody looked at a pair of trainers and thought about the supplier agreement behind it. They saw the swoosh. That is perfect when the product feels inspiring. But when the product is linked to exploitation, the same logic becomes dangerous. Nike could not spend decades making the logo powerful, then suddenly claim the logo had nothing to do with how the product was made. The public did not accept that separation. If Nike controlled the design, the deadlines, the price pressure, and the brand image, then people expected Nike to carry responsibility too. This became one of the biggest lessons of the scandal. Outsourcing production does not outsource blame. That line is important. Keep it, because it explains the whole story in one sentence. Nike's business model had created distance. The scandal collapsed that distance. Nike survived, but the scandal permanently changed what people expected from the swoosh. From that point forward, Nike could no longer separate its brand from the factories and workers behind its products.